put in the word mekataye na metiyaye ne. Then they go on to say antam la kesalahone be'ante taminalo yilawal. Now, very important about this verse right here. If you understand the Royal Amharic, it says ilawalo. I will say to Yahweh in the second verse of Psalm 91. I will say to Yahweh, Ante metaminya ne lawalo amlakena mesheshigiya no ba'arusu metaminalo. So they, first of all, they take out the word Most High, La'ul, from verse 1 of the 1988 Popish Amharic translation from the English, not from the Hebrew, from the English. They take that out. They add a comma where a period should be in verse 1. You know what I'm saying? In the second verse, they take out the word metaminyaye. You understand? My trust, my trust, my confidence. You understand? He is my trust. They take that out from there and they add in mekataye. You understand? Then they say antam la kesalahone, because you are my God, be'ante taminalo yilawal. So they take out, they change the first person, ilawalo, I will say to him, to the third person. So when you're reading this 1988 Amharic Bible, you understand, you're saying that somebody else says it, but when you read or chant His Imperial Majesty's Mezmure Dawit, you are actually saying what the Hebrew says, that I will say ante metamenyayen. I will say you are my trust, you are my confidence. Let's go to verse 3 for a moment. Bamarinya Nugus Neges Targum says Arsuka Adanye Wet Ameda Kamiyas the Negatima Negaria Dinahalina. Now the usual English translation of that is, surely he will deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. Surely he will deliver thee. You understand? Now, Bamarinya Arsu, he himself, pronoun, you understand, personal pronoun, Ka'adanye, from the hunter, Ka'adanye, Wetamed, from the trap of the hunter, Kamiyas the negatim negar, from the thing or the matter that caused mental duress, mental shock, mental agitation, that which causes the master negat and negar, Kamiyas the negatim negar, Yadina halina. For surely he will save you from that which causes mental shock, shock of mind. But now listen to the 1988 Popish Amharic translation, which they produced in 1988 to take you away from Fidalis to the King of Kings and to the more accurate Amharic, the pure language of the King of Kings authorized Metzaf Kedus. Here's what they say in verse 3. Exyabihir katasawaru adagaochna lemot kamiyadarsu abeshtawochit abikahal. Now, if you know this, you will notice that they add in mot. They add in the Canaanite God. They add in death. They add death in, and there's no death in verse 3 in the Hebrew. Let's look at the Hebrew for a moment. There is no death in verse 3 in the Hebrew or in the Royal Amharic. It says, Arsuka adan wet med, from the trap of the hunter, kamiyas negatim negar yadinahalina. For surely he will save you from the thing that causes mental agitation, mental shock, a state of mental shock. Here they say Exyavi here, you understand, the sustainer of the land, the landlord, Yahweh, katasawaru adagaochna, from hidden dangers, you understand, from hidden dangers, lemota kami yadarsu abeshtawo chitabikahal, from diseases, you understand, which leads one to death, you understand, which lead one to death. He will protect you from diseases. This is basically what it says in the 1988 Popish, you understand, spiritual fascist invasion mistranslation. But on a higher level, the King of Kings says, Kamiyas the negatim negar yadina halina. He will save you. So what they take out of verse 2 is Madan. They take out salvation. They take out salvation. So just 3 verses comparing Psalm 91, you understand, from the King of Kings 1961 authorized translation, authorized version of the scriptures, the real scriptures, the Ethiopian Hebrews, what Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 9 and 10 was speaking of for us as Beta Israel. They now replace this, you understand, to the careless Ethiopians with a 1988 Popish translation, which takes out Le'ul, Elyon, Most High, out of verse 1. You understand? In verse 2, they replace, you understand, they replace Metamenyaye, you understand, confidence and trust, with Mekataye, you understand, with defense, like a defense, like in a military sense, a defensive embankment. You understand? They change from, I will say, Illawalo, you understand, to Yahweh. They change that to Yilawal, that he, somebody else would say, when it's clear in the Hebrew and the Royal Amharic, that I will say to Yahweh, Anta Metamenyaye, that I will say that you are my trust, that I have sympathized with you, Yahweh. You understand? Now, if we go a little bit further, you understand, let's just touch on verse 4. In verse 4, Bamarinya Askadmo says, Balabao chu yigardahal bekena fortune betacha titemamenale unetinda gasha yikabahal. Right? Now, the usual translation, King James, says, He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Now, what does the Popish 1988 false Bible has been given to the Ethiopians, what does that say? Let's read it. It says, Bekin fochu yagardahala arsu salamia kabakabu besalam tenorale ya arsu unatanya neta gashana mekata yehon lehal. Now, this is not as bad, but you know what it takes out? You know what it takes out? It takes out the feathers. They take out feathers. He shall cover thee with his feathers, under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth, not his truthfulness. You understand the truthfulness of him, but his truth, not as an adjectival, you understand, but as a noun. His truth. So they take out truth and make it an adjective, truthfulness, when they say net instead of net. It's very clear what they're doing here. Let's touch on verse 5. Let's move ahead. Let's touch on verse 5. Bamarinya Nugus Neges Targum. It says Kalelita Garma Bekena Kami Berir Filatsa. Connect that with verse 6. Bech Alama Kami Heda Kufu Negar. Kadagana Kakatiraganina Atifaram. Right? 2 verses which are connected as one. Right? 2 verses. In the usual translation, you understand, King James, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. Now here's what they say. They say, Beleilita dega yedaris behal beken falatza yewara binyal bechalama mekasafita ye metanyal bet erarat ahaya kufu beshita yizo ye gedalenyal bemalet atisagam. What is that to say? You understand? What is that to say? That's to say that there will it won't be any agitation, any stress, so to say. There are countless errors, you understand, in the so-called new version, or the perversion that is the 1988 Amharic Bible. The 1961 Kadamawi Haile Selassie translation, the authorized translation, is a superior Bible. So if you have Amharic Bible, look at the front and see when the copyright. If the copyright is 1988 or thereafter, it most likely is this bastardized version, this popish version of the Bible that was actually produced by the Pope, and it's the same as the English Bibles, you know, as the Good News, the so-called Good News Bible. You understand? So a word to the wise should be sufficient.
Remember, Adonijah the kingdom of Judea. And then migrated on further down into Ethiopia, 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 into Ethiopia.